Good evening, everyone. It's Paul Kagabine with the Garland County Library, and I'm here with our special recurring guest, Marsalis Weatherspoon, who is the host of the Perceptions of Color series, and we're on episode number 9, believe it or not. Perceptions of Color is a monthly series that intends to both celebrate and educate about all facets of the African American experience, and Mr. Weatherspoon is a local musician, speaker, and public servant who is the current president of the local NAACP branch here in Hot Springs. And looking very sharp tonight. I see you're wearing our Alumni Hot Springs High graduation attire, and that is your subject for tonight, isn't it? What are we talking about this evening?
Yes, we're talking about blacks in higher education, so I had to dress up for the occasion.
Yep, and you've got your IB logo there in the middle, representing that very difficult program. You did better than I did in it. I started through IB and then didn't make it through the diploma program, but it's a very impressive program they have over there at Hot Springs. But you have some special guests this evening, so Marsalis is going to introduce the two of them, and they're going to have a informative panel discussion. As always, you always have the best guest, and you set the bar a little higher each time. So looking forward to a great program, and I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Paul, and again, welcome to the Perceptions of Color, where we explore the African American experience. And today we're looking at the Black experience through the lens of higher education. And I have two very special guests with me today, and I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to bring them right on. I have with me Miss Willie Cooper Martin. How are you doing today, Miss Martin?
Doing great.
Great, great. And then I have my very good friend, Mr. Jerron Liddell.
How you doing?
Doing great, doing great. It took everything in me not to say Dr. Liddell, but we know that's coming down the pipe really soon.
Very soon.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So, getting right into it, where did each of you attend, and what did you study when you got there, and what was the rationale behind that? And we'll start ladies first, Miss Martin.
Well, I attended Arkansas A&M College, which is now known as University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff. And I majored in math, minored in science, and it was a very good experience for me.
Awesome, awesome. Brother Liddell?
I also attended UAPB. I majored in music education, and so you asked a little bit about the rationale. So initially, I wanted to go away for college, and my mom and my mentor and a lot of people, they say, "Well, you're not really ready to go to go off," and of course, I didn't want to hear that back then, but as an adult now, I realized they were absolutely correct. I was not ready to go off and be by myself. I would have been right back at home, and so I ended up going to UAPB, and I loved it. I loved it, and honestly, it has really shaped pretty much everything that I'm doing right now. As far as the job that I have and everything. So it was a great experience.
Awesome. So, are you a Pine Bluff native?
Yes, I was born and raised in Pine Bluff, graduated from Pine Bluff High, and went to UAPB.
Awesome, awesome. And you kind of segued into a couple of other questions I was already going to ask is, what are both of you guys doing right now? So let's start with Brother Liddell, and then we'll go to Miss Martin.
Okay.
I'm the director of choral activities at UAPB. I direct the Vesper Choir as well as teach in the music department, and that's what I'm doing.
Awesome. And I know you've had a long career, Miss Martin, so just hit some highlights.
Well, right now I'm retired, and I have taught many places, last of which was in Gary, Indiana. I taught 20 years there in Gary, Indiana, and I taught in Chicago. My first teaching job was in Chicago, Illinois. And
Wow.
I taught in Ohio, and unfortunately, I had a husband who worked for a company that moved him around. So when he went, I had to go too.
Right. So just kind of in the mid west and south kind of stayed around there?
Yes.
Cool. And where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Louisiana, but I moved here as a very small child. My parents moved here and when I was about 3 years old. So I grew up here in Hot Springs.
Awesome. And y'all have kind of answered the question I was going to ask was, that's a big decision that a lot of people have to make. Am I going to stay in state or am I going to stay out of state? And I kind of resonated with what you said, Jerron, about I'm not going to go somewhere far off and be back home. So I made that decision to just kind of stay at Henderson, which is not a historically Black college by any stretch, but it was close to home, and it's called a suitcase college because most kids are at home on the weekend. So I definitely, resonated with what you said about that. So were there any other factors that, played into the decision you made to attend the college that you chose, Brother Liddell?
The fact that it was paid for the most part, that definitely helped.
That helps too.
I got a scholarship for the Vesper to sing in the Vesper choir, and so that between that and financial aid, pretty much everything was paid for. So it's like, hey, go get this education for free.
That's awesome. And so, Ms. Martin, what were some of the factors that made you decide? And I love when the people say Arkansas A&M because my grandfather attended Arkansas A&M as well. So there's something nostalgic about that.
Well, mine was basically the same as his. Money. I got a scholarship to UAPV, one from the school itself and one from the Hot Springs Teachers Union. And that, of course, that made the decision for me because I didn't have the money to go. But also I had a teacher in high school who taught math. Her name is Miss Johnny Bell Henderson. And she was just my ideal of of what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I tried to follow in her footsteps.
Wonderful. And for those that don't know, AM&N stands for Arkansas, let me get it right, Mechanical and Normal College?
Right.
Agricultural, Mechanical, and Normal.
Agricultural, Mechanical, and Normal College.
Mm-hmm.
So just a tidbit of historical fact right there. And so, y'all are answering all my questions before I ask them, but it's a good thing. So yeah, the rationale behind choosing a historically Black college, at a certain point in history, before it was AM&N, it was branch normal. And, there was a time where, Blacks had to go to a historically Black college or university. And I don't know if that was either of your experiences. So, aside from the financial component and having a mentor in your life, what were some of the other reasons you chose an HBCU as opposed to a predominantly white institution? Anybody just jump in there?
I don't think I even thought of the white institutions, but UAPB was close, and like you said, you could go home on the weekends. We're only 72 miles away, and plus I had relatives in Pine Bluff that I could visit, and I stayed on campus most of the time, but I could visit my relatives there also. So that was another factor.
Right.
I'll say for me, probably family. A lot of my mom graduated from UAPB. My oldest sister, my oldest brother, both got degrees from UAPB. My cousins, and so it's just kind of in us to go here, and everybody knows that it's a great school, and so they, my family, we have my nephew, my cousin, who's here on campus right now, and we just want everybody to have that same great experience that we did, and want to keep, and as well as want to keep supporting UAPB and sending students, to the university.
So it sounds like in your family that attending UAPB is a family affair, and there's legacy and a tradition there.
Yeah, definitely. I actually have two nieces that are graduating from Pine Bluff High Friday, who will both be attending UAPB in the fall. So
awesome. Ms. Martin, any family connections there?
No, not before me. My daughter did attend after me. One of my two daughters attended after me, but I never had anybody before me to go there.
Well, did you have family to make the decision to attend a historically black college or university? Is that something?
Elsewhere, you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, my older sister went to Knoxville College in Knoxville, Tennessee, and I'm the third of seven. And my second sister didn't go until she was older, and then it was me who went to UAPV.
Right. So, we're talking about the importance of family as relates to this college experience. And let's be honest, we don't have the 529 college savings plans a lot of times that our other counterparts have. So having that family support is very important. I know for me, I crashed on many a couch, being back at home and then working on the weekends just to sustain, the cost of living on a college campus. So having that family connection is important, and like you said, keeping the tradition alive. If not attending the same university, at least staying in that historically black tradition. That's important. Y'all already answered my question as relates to financial aid opportunities. Did either of you experience any uh, discrimination in your pursuit of higher education, maybe in the application process or while you were on campus or anything like that?
I can't think of any discrimination that I experienced, because back then it was much easier. I mean, to get a loan, you could walk into the financial aid office and come out with a loan. And,
Mhm.
nowadays it's not as easy, I don't think, to do that. But I don't think we did. I just experienced any discrimination there.
Well, it's easy to get a for-profit, high-interest loan compounds, and it accrues, and you borrow so much, and then before you know it, you owe twice that. And we talked about how blacks are a lot of time the victims of these predatory lending practices, and sometimes they'll go to um, some of these schools. I won't name any of them, but the schools that you see the commercials on TV, and they say go here, and a lot of black people are targeted by those schools because oh, we'll give you a free computer and we'll give you all this loan money, and then it's not an accredited institution. They can't get a job. So there was a class action lawsuit that went out, I want to say, with the Obama administration because of that. So a lot of times we are the victims of those predatory practices. But Mr. Liddell, did you have any experiences?
No, not at UAPB. I won't say I necessarily had any. I wasn't necessarily discriminated against in graduate school, because I did go to a predominantly white institution for graduate school. Um, but it was definitely a difference in the atmosphere, um, and the vibe of certain people that I encountered in that particular program, and it was pretty noticeable. So yeah, but never at UAPB.
Right. When I'll counter, just I attended Henderson State University. Like I said, it is a predominantly white institution, and there's just a culture shock that happens when you kind of get all these people from different backgrounds, and you have a lot of rural people and you have urban people, and they're coming together, and there are bound to be some issues. Sometimes people make racially tinged jokes, and they think that that's funny, and
Yeah.
you have to overcome a lot of that stuff, just being, especially when you're like me and there's few blacks in your program. So you know, I love my program. The music department at Henderson is phenomenal. Um, but sometimes I think about, what if I had attended a historically black college, and what my experience might have been. So shoulda, coulda, woulda, spilt milk. But I love to hear from people that have attended, the impact that it had. on them. So moving on, you mentioned, is it Miss Henderson? Was your math teacher Miss Martin?
Yes, Johnny Bell Henderson.
Yeah. How important was it to see teachers that look like you, and even at the college level, professors that look like you, or faculty and staff? Like, how much of an impact did that have on you as a person attending or pursuing higher education?
Well, for me, it was easier to talk to them because they were, people that looked like me.
Hmm.
And they cared about you. They cared whether you passed their class or not. They didn't want you failing the class, so they would give you all the help that they could, and whether it was financial or any other kind of help. But yes, it was definitely a rewarding experience.
Absolutely. And as you were talking, it made me think about uh, the testimony from Ketanji Brown Jackson, the newly appointed Supreme Court justice, and she said that housing a black student at her university caused her to persevere through that Ivy League program, and so that just kind of resonates with what you're saying. What about you, Mr. Liddell?
Um, as far as growing up, I kind of had like a good mix of teachers. I think my first black teacher was second grade, Mrs. Goldman at the time. Um, and I never encountered really any issues as far as a difference until I got to like junior high, high school, and then I started to see some differences between the way that the black students, that the black teachers interacted with the students versus some of the white teachers. Um, and I had a very actually interesting interest because I was a bit of a knucklehead junior high, high school, uh, and so but I was very smart, but just kind of like wayward, and so because of that, I think like my black teachers recognized that and just kind of pulled me in closer, whereas the white teachers recognized it and then they pushed me further away. And
Hmm.
so so there was definitely a big difference in the way that the black teachers interacted with those students, and it helps a tremendous amount to pull those kids in closer. And that's one reason why I try to do the same thing now, because a lot of times those are the kids that need it most, you know.
Hmm. Right. So now that's beautiful. Like you said, you are in a position now as a teacher to recognize that you can see yourself in other students. And I'm the same way. I teach K-12 music in the public school, and I can say, oh, he was me at that age, and recognize,
Exactly.
and now I know how to respond. So for sure. And Miss Martin, I know you're an educator as well. So talk about that. Like, did you I'm sure you got an opportunity to be the mentor you had in school to someone else, right?
Yes. Well, in most schools where I taught, believe it or not, I was one of the few black teachers in the school.
Hmm.
And of course, the administration and the other teachers thought you had all the answers to the black kids' problems.
Right.
If something happened with the black kid, I was the one they would ask to come in and, you
Hmm.
know, and try to settle this difference with the black kids. So they think you know everything about the black kids, but, don't think about the rest of them. So it definitely was an enlightening experience, because I would wonder. I first started wondering, why are they asking me? I don't even know this child, you know, but
Yeah.
they're calling you in because you're black and the child is black. So,
Mhm.
Right.
but I always had a good rapport with my kids, whatever, no matter what the color was. I was always uh, sponsoring, like cheerleaders and volleyball team and things like that. So I did have a good rapport with the kids, and that did help me to, like, where the black kids would not try out for these different things, and when they saw, a black sponsor, then that made them, tryouts. Said, well, maybe I have a chance now, So it worked out well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, you become the Black kid whisperer.
Yeah.
To your faculty and staff that they don't know what's going on. So yeah, I'm guilty. This Hispanic student was crying the other day, and I was like, "Oh no, what's going on?" So I sent her to one of the Hispanic staff, and they, were able to connect, and she was able to console her. So, it's we laugh, but it's understandable, to a degree that people relate to people that look like them, whether it's Hispanic and Hispanic, Black or Black. So those connections are important, is the main bullet point of this presentation. I want to get to, let's have a little fun. Let's talk about Black Greek letter organizations. So, I'm gonna give y'all a chance to talk your talk and show off a little bit. So, Miss Martin, tell us about your Greek organization and what it means to you. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, so just freestyle it.
Well, with me, I was late pledging. I was a senior when I pledged, but it wasn't because I didn't want to pledge. It was because things that were going on campus, and we didn't have a line when I wanted to pledge. But I found that I could always go to my sisters for whatever I wanted or needed, and it didn't matter, what the problem was. They could always help me through it, one way or the other. And I didn't really have any bad experiences going through with AKA, and everybody says that they have a different criteria for different organizations, but I didn't feel any like I was they were against me for any particular reason. I had friends who were already in there, and I had friends who were going through with me, and and I was a senior. I think that somehow may have been to my favor because I was I wasn't a sophomore going through, I was a senior going through.
Right. And for those who don't know, tell us a little, what is AKA?
Alpha Kappa Alpha.
I love it. I love it.
Number one, Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Because the sisters of that sorority will always say Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And always mention my cousin, Freda Denise Carroll, was a charter member at Arkansas State in Jonesboro, and she was in the education department at UAPV.
She was one of my professors.
Yes, so she was Miss AKA, like from head to toe in her vehicle. Every surface had AKA. So, Mr. Liddell, tell us about your organization.
So, don't chuckle like that.
I'm just.
I remember Phi Beta Sigma fraternity. I initially, I guess I was kind of interested in Sigma already when I got to UAPV, but it kind of solidified it in the fact that a lot of the people on campus that I gravitated toward happened to be Sigmas, even before I knew it, or they pledged Sigma even before I did. And so with that, with developing those relationships, I got to, see the organization firsthand and see what they did, see what they were about. And I'm big on I've always been big on the type of people that I put myself around. And that was the organization where I saw myself, out of some of those. And I was approached by someone from another organization, and they were like, well, you ever considered what? I was like, not really, but and so I kind of had my mind made up. And honestly, it was one of my friends that was in the choir with me. I kept putting it off as far as pledging, and he was like, "What you waiting on?" And I was like, I'm just not ready yet. He's like, you come into the meeting and what's called, he's like, we already know. And so I ended up going ahead and doing it. But it's been a great experience, and really some lifelong friendships that I've made. We've done some really great work in the community. Speaking of lifelong friendships, one of my line brothers actually lives here in the Little Rock area now recently. And so I'm actually going to eat with him after we finish this. I made a great choice. It's a great organization to be a part of, for sure.
There's so many things that y'all have said that I just want to just piggyback on, because you said you still maintain these friendships, and a lot of times I don't. I can just generalize that for Black Greek letter organizations, it's a lifetime thing, like from the time you pledge to the day you die, because sometimes in other organizations it's more of a social thing that you do while you're an undergrad, and you might not ever see these people again, whereas for a Black Greek letter organization, it's something you do for your life. And my turn. So I'm like Ms. Martin, I didn't pledge to my first senior year. I'll leave it at that. But you know how you might kind of be aware of something, but not fully? I was like somewhat aware of Alpha Phi Alpha, but I wasn't fully aware until my freshman year of college. And I found out that, Thurgood Marshall and Martin Luther King and so many other notable African Americans pledged Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. So I said, okay, that's pretty cool. But then, like you said, I got to know the brothers on the yard, and they were very welcoming, and they were leaders on on campus, in various organizations academically. And so I said, this is my speed. So 4 years later, the rest is history. And I was aware of Omega Psi Phi fraternity. Like I said, my grandfather pledged that at Arkansas A&M, and I said this. He passed away a couple of days ago. We had a service last Thursday. I said my grandfather, and my uncle both pledged Omega Psi Phi, but I saw the light of Alpha Phi Alpha. So we do mentorship in the schools, and we're able to make an impact. And we've gotten several brothers that way, that they knew us when they were in school, and they said, y'all made an impact in my life, and so I'm going to pass that on. And my former roommate, he said, man, I had my mindset on Omega Psi Phi, but I just saw the walk you walked and the talk you talked, and I brought him over. Come on over here to holiness. It's still right. But that's fun. Let's see. Well, this is a dub, but how, in what ways are you still involved, whether it's your alma mater or your Greek organization? And you've touched on it already. I'll start with you, Miss Martin. How do you still stay involved with UAPB and Alpha Kappa Alpha?
Well, with UAPV, I am the president of the alumni chapter, UAPV alumni chapter here in Hot Springs. And sad to say, I'm not a member of the graduate chapter of AKA, because one reason they don't have a chapter in Hot Springs, and you have to travel to be, in that chapter. So, and when they have one, I told them, give me a call when you have one.
Right.
Yes, I'm with and our chapter in Hot Springs, our UAPB alumni chapter is pretty active in Hot Springs.
Yes, ma'am, for sure. Mr. Liddell?
Well, as I say before, I'm teaching at my alma mater, so it's you really can't not be involved if you're teaching there. And so, as far as like Sigma, I mainly stay involved in the organization through my students. I actually have one of the students that I'm mentoring, who is also a music major, who actually just came offline for Sigma this past semester. even with not quite being as involved as I would like to be, it's amazing that, you know, people do see you and you do have an impact, you know, even when you're not trying to, you know. So yeah.
Definitely. I am a member of Pi Nu Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha. We recently chartered in Arkadelphia, but it also covers Hot Springs and Auburn areas. So I'm excited to be a part of that chapter, represent. I'm a, you know, I was initiated in Theta Kappa chapter. Uh, I always say fall '09, October 22nd, 2009 at 7:43 p.m. So
You got it down to the time.
yeah, so I love my A, Phi A, definitely, definitely. All right, we're gonna punt to Paul to see did anybody have any questions out there in the audience.
At this time, everyone is being shy, so let's
Really?
give a final call to share your stories and experiences, because this has been very enlightening.
Well, while that's happening, you mentioned my IB, and I was a part of the first cohort of international baccalaureate students at Hot Springs School District. I did not get the diploma, but we were the first. We kind of paved the way. So I decided to wear this today, and then of course here's my Alpha Phi Alpha stole that I wore at my Henderson graduation. And these are my cords. I was a part of the Ronald E. McNair Scholars Program, and they gave us these whenever I was inducted into that. So this is real. This is not a costume. This is my real cap, my real gown, and my real stuff. Now, shout out to a recent Hot Springs graduate, Tyrell. Um, Tyrell Lambert gave me this hat because I couldn't find mine. Right, cool. So I couldn't not have the hat. Yeah, that was, you know, the icing on the cake, as it were, or the cherry on top.
And I like how you clarified it's not a costume, because Marsalis has been known to wear costumes in this series
I wore
before.
one costume.
I can see that.
I wore one costume for Halloween. Like my dashikis, that's how I dress like all the time. Like this is just my life. I had a fun thing that I thought we could do, and I'm gonna throw out some dates, and I'm gonna see what you guys know about HBCU and BGLO. When I say HBCU, historically Black College and University. When I say BGLO, Black Greek Letter Organization, I'm gonna throw out some dates and see does it ring a bell for any of you. I'm actually gonna go in alphabetical order. So when I say, and think about it again, we're talking about Black Greek Letter Organization. We're talking about historically Black colleges and university. When I say the date 1776, what does that mean to either of you?
You're saying for Greek letter organizations?
Yes, that's what it's about.
I don't know.
For Greek letter organizations,
Yes, yes.
1776.
Yes.
I don't know about for Greek letter. Isn't that like when the Declaration of Independence was signed or something like that?
It was the year of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. It's also the year that the first fraternity on U.S. soil was founded, Phi Beta Kappa at William and Mary College in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
So when we talk about fraternities, that was the model fraternity that all other fraternities after that was modeled on. So it wasn't a Black fraternity, but you know, fraternities as we know it started with Phi Beta Kappa. Okay, y'all aren't gonna know these. 1792.
I have no idea.
Those dates are a little early.
Yeah. 1792. Mr. John Javis is the first Black person to attend college. He was a student of the president of the College of New Jersey, which became known as Princeton University. So he's credited with being the first Black college student. What about 1837?
No.
Just go on and educate us.
Yeah, okay. So 1837 is the Institute for Colored Youth, which became known as Cheyney University in Cheyney, Pennsylvania, and that's the first known historically Black college on U.S. soil. So Cheyney University. Okay, I'm gonna give one y'all should know. 1873.
We should know.
You should know that.
8.
That's the year Branch Normal was founded, correct?
Ding, 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 ding. The founding of Branch Normal College in Pine Bluff, which became known as Arkansas A&M, which became known as UAPV. It might have been something in between that, but those are the ones I'm aware of. Okay, what about 1904?
1904.
AKAs were founded, or 1902?
No.
1904. I'm not sure about that one.
1904 was the year that Sigma Pi Phi, which is the first known Black fraternity, was founded. It is not a collegiate fraternity, but it is a Black fraternity. It's the first, I should clarify, it's the first Greek letter fraternity that was founded in the U.S. in 1904. It is not collegiate, but its first Greek lettered organization. First fraternity probably would be the Prince Hall affiliated Masons.
I feel like I'm back online again.
I know, right? Okay, I better get this right. 1906.
An insignificant year.
Really?
An
It's like
insignificant year, you know.
Oh,
It was
God.
the year that one of my friends' Greek letter organization was founded.
Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was founded on the campus of Cornell University in Ithaca, New York on December 4th, Tuesday, a cold Tuesday, December 4th, 1906. Okay, what about 1908?
Is that AKA?
Yes.
Okay.
Alpha Kappa Alpha was founded on the campus of Howard University in Washington, D.C. in the year 1908. Okay, this has a couple of options. 1911.
Kappa Alpha Psi and Delta Sigma Theta? Is that
No.
Kappa and Omega?
Yes, Kappa Alpha Psi and Omega Psi Phi were founded in 1911. Very good. Okay, 1913.
No, that's Delta.
Now Delta.
Okay. Delta Sigma.
Okay, you can't answer this next one. 1913. Miss Martin can only answer it.
It was what? What was the year?
1914.
One of the greatest years ever.
Had to be Sigma.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
That is correct.
Phi Beta Sigma was founded on the campus of Howard University in 1914.
Yeah.
Okay, what about 1920?
Can I answer this one or no?
Constitutionally, I believe so. You can.
That was the year Zeta Phi Beta was founded.
Correct.
Our sister organization.
Howard University. 1922.
Who are we missing?
I was about to say, what's left?
The remains.
Gotta be Sigma Gamma Rho.
Ding, ding, ding. Sigma Gamma Rho was founded on the campus of Butler University in Indianapolis, Indiana in 1922. Okay, we're going to fast forward to 1963.
That felt a little shady, but the year that Iota Phi Theta was founded.
That is correct. Iota Phi Theta fraternity was incorporated. I don't know if it was incorporated, but it was founded in 1963. Okay. What about, y'all aren't going to get these either. 1970. It's not an organization per se.
He says not what?
It's not an organization per se.
UAPV became
No.
70, what?
That was, I think, 72. Was it 71, 72, somewhere around there?
Around there.
And that's not it. Yeah, y'all aren't gonna get this one. A publication called the Black Collegian was founded, and I love those old school Black Collegian magazines. I don't know if y'all ever seen them. They
I've
always
never
got
seen one.
a Black student on the front, and then they always profile, what's going on in higher education for Black. So if y'all haven't heard of Black Collegian, check that out. 1987.
3 years after a wonderful young man was born. Other than that, I have no idea.
These weren't fair. The show A Different World, and it gave a glimpse of, what it is on a historically Black campus, and they had mock fraternities and sororities on the show. So that came out in 87. What about 88?
I would say maybe around the time maybe the Cosby Show aired for the first time or something.
Maybe, I'm not sure, but that's not it.
Can we get a hint or something?
It is a production. I'll say that.
19, what was it, 88 you said?
88. That's also another distinguished young man's birth year.
I'm lost.
Okay, 1988, the movie School Days.
Oh, wow.
Which was a Spike Lee joint. So it gave a glimpse into historically Black college life as well. So they kind of had a renaissance, seems like in the late 80s, early 90s. People were taking a look at historically Black colleges and taking interest for whatever reason. So thank y'all for playing. Good job. So did we have anything from the audience?
We got a couple YouTube questions this time.
Okay.
Kendra says, great conversation. Do you know anything about the PhD project? Do you think these programs that push for diversity have been successful, and what can they do better?
I am not familiar with the PhD project.
Me either.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. It'd be something that we will follow up with and have an answer next time for sure, because sounds interesting.
Then Anthony says, I am a multiracial guy who would be considered Black to most people. It wasn't until my third year of college when I had a course taught by a male Black professor. Even then, he ended up leaving after his first year.
Wow.
Mm.
Well, I took African studies with Dr. Kendi, who was from Ethiopia, and that was a very eye-opening experience for me because, we had to take Western civilization, and then African studies was optional. You know what I mean? So a lot of people aren't aware of Black history. They're not aware of African history because it's treated kind of as an elective a lot of times. So I would encourage Black, white, yellow, whatever, that you know, take an interest in. You almost have to um, take it upon yourself to get some education in Black history or African history. I remember Nicole Hannah Jones mentioned that that's how she got started with the 1619 project because she had a very influential history professor who told her about the transatlantic slave trade because she didn't know about it before that. So that's my admonishment for you. If you're watching today, you know, take an interest. If you have to just read a couple of books yourself, just to get the spark going, you know, but take an interest in African studies, African American studies. It'll bless you.
I
Anything on
think
that?
I would say most of well, I will say most. A lot of my professors in college were Black males, and so I did not have that experience until graduate school, and I had no Black male professors in that program whatsoever. There was only there was only one Black male professor in the department at all, and it was a that school has a large music department, and so so yeah, I can definitely see how that it was different. It's definitely a big difference between the two. So,
Right, and it's kind of what Miss Willie said earlier. Miss Martin said, you know, she encouraged her students to know that that was an option for them. So, do you think there's just not a lot of encouragement for Blacks in higher education and postgraduate study? You know, how many people do you have saying, "Hey, you can go get a master's or you can go get a doctorate"? You know what I mean?
well, I can say that. I mean, we push it all the time. You know, we encourage it. You know, and it's always been something uh, for me that my even my family has always pushed for me. You know,
Mhm.
I was just like, let me get through undergrad. Jeez, y'all talking about master's degrees and doctorates. I'm like, I'm just trying to get out of here right now.
Right, right.
And so, but it's always been something that has been encouraged by my family, by church members, by professors. You know, you need to consider this. You know, consider getting your master's, consider going on and getting your doctorate because we need more Black males in education. So, you know,
That is definitely true. There's, you know, not very many of us in education, period. Now, are you currently in a doctoral program, or if not, are you looking at something? What's going on with that?
I am currently working on my PhD at the University of Memphis.
Wow. Let's give it up. Like, that's awesome. That is like very commendable.
Yeah.
So,
I would
kudos.
I will say one thing, even though to the first question that was asked, I'm not sure what the PhD project is, but just speaking on diversity in general, as far as something that can be done better, I think people have to look at diversity from the standpoint of it's more than just getting Black students there. It's also
Mhm.
and the people that you have teaching and how they're teaching and relating to these Black students, and not just Black students, but other cultures as well. So it's more than just like, oh, let me get some, you know, other cultures in here. But once they're there, how are you relating to them? You know, how are you welcoming them into this atmosphere? What type of atmosphere are you welcoming them into, bringing them into? You know, as far as
True.
you know, and people have to really think about that. You know, it may mean you have to change some things up if you're really, really going to go all in on being effective as far as diversity is concerned.
Right. So again, you're in a position now to make sure that the ones coming behind you can
Right,
have some type of support system. So I
right.
love it. Now, Miss Martin, you are the president of the Alumni Association for UAPV here locally, and we talked about how you know these connections that we make in historically Black colleges and universities, and in these Black Greek letter organizations are for a lifetime. So, what are some of the activities that the Alumni Association is involved in? What do y'all do kind of throughout the year?
Well, we Of course, we donate money to the schools throughout the year for different things. You know, they have the they have the alumni house going now that they're trying to build. We give scholarships to the community, anyone who's going to UAPV. And right now, we don't have any applicants for the scholarship this year, and we'd like to see some. And but year before last year we didn't give one because of the pandemic, and kids weren't in school or anything. But we do give scholarships, and then through the year, we get requests from the campus to help a student, who needs money to pay off this or to pay off that, and we do that kind of thing too.
Beautiful. So the scholarship is for graduating high school seniors that are going to choose UAPV. Is that correct?
No, it's not only for graduating high school seniors. You can already have finished a year at UAPV, and
Okay, wonderful.
right, and you can still apply for the scholarship.
So how do they get that information to apply?
Well, you have to contact the Hot Springs UAPB chapter, and you can, if you can refer, if they can refer to you. I don't know if you want to give a number or anything on the.
Let's do that. Let's do that. So if y'all are interested in that scholarship opportunity, y'all can drop me a line at admin, ADMIN at NAACPHS6013.org. That's ADMIN at NAACPHS6013.org, and we'll forward that information to the appropriate parties. So see, if you come to Perceptions of Color, you might get blessed.
And there's also a scholarship given from the Langston Alumni Association that they could also apply for.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I'll add to that the Vesper Choir that I direct also offers scholarships to students as well. So I mean,
well, you took that out of it, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I mean, if there are students that are coming to you, people or just interested or undecided, and they sing exceptionally well, send them my way. We can definitely try to find a place for them and get them some money to get it paid for, or partially,
Wonderful. Well, I was gonna say that the Vesper Choir is second to none, and you guys came to Hot Springs not too long ago and performed. And another time-honored tradition is the Handel's Messiah that you all do every December. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
So if we have students that are interested in the core program, they can see you. How can they get in touch with you?
They can, let's see, what's the best way? So they can send me an email. That would probably be the best way to Liddell J at uapv.edu.
That's double D double L.
Yes.
So Liddell J at
uapv.edu.
Wonderful. Well, again, we're gonna see if Mr. Paul had anything else for us.
Looks like we don't have anything else at this time, but I hope everyone who watches this in the future reaches out to these great guests and checks out the previous episodes in the Perceptions of Color series. There's 8 more in addition to this one, and they're all there in the library's Facebook channel, video archive, and on YouTube, whichever way you prefer to watch or you're watching right now. You can find the other videos there in our history, and I know Marsalis posts them in the NAACP Facebook group as well.
Yes.
And I do have a quick announcement. We are 1 week away from Election Day, and of course there's some early voting going on as well, but you can vote here at the library. If you're registered to vote in Garland County, you can vote at any polling location regardless of your address in the county. So we, of course, the library, and I know the NAACP as well, does not endorse any candidates, but we do endorse voting and encourage you to come and vote. And
Amen.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is Election Day, or at least for the primary election and the nonpartisan elections. Voting on next Tuesday is 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And then, of course, the candidates who win the primary will be on the ballot in the general election this November.
Definitely have to make our voice heard. Definitely. I just want to give you all, thank y'all so much. It was so wonderful today, just hearing you all's experience being Black in higher education. Is there anything, any closing thoughts you would like to leave us with?
Nah, I don't have.
Can't think of any.
Awesome. Well, y'all did a thorough job. And again, you can find out more if you're interested in attending historically Black college. You can go to the United Negro College Fund. I believe that's uncf.org. Or you can go to uapv.edu. But there are several, there's 4 here in the state of Arkansas. Uh, so if you're interested in historically Black colleges, the information is available because, as the UNCF says, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. So with that, thank you all so much for coming on, and y'all have a great evening. And Mr. Liddell, enjoy your meal.
All right, we'll do.
All right, y'all take care.
All right.
Good night.
And as always, this has been Perceptions of Color. My name is Marsalis Weatherspoon. The Hot Springs branch of the NAACP meets every second Saturday at 2 p.m. And we're happy to announce that we will be back in person for the month of June. So after 2 years of pandemic, protections, we're going to finally be back together. So stay tuned for more information on that. But as always, for more information on our branch, you can go to our website, naacphs6013.org. And so until next time, everyone take care and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.